I am super excited to be here. Uh, Here today, I'm Jenny DuFresne with the Woman Leader Summit. I'm the founder of the Woman Leader Summit, and very excited for all of you who are coming, or those of you who are going to watch this on the replay. This is the first of a series of conversations and interviews with some amazing and dynamic women leaders who are going to be teaching and training and sharing their wisdom during the Woman Leader Summit, July 17th, 2021. So listen, did you know that women are the fastest group of people founding businesses in the country? Women are the fastest group. But did you know this statistic? And this came out of an American Express paper in 2019, that only 4% of women-led businesses, 4% of women-led businesses ever make it to $1 million in revenue every year. Now, when I first saw that statistic, I was totally shocked. I have built and led a multi-million dollar organization from concept to 65 plus people in my staff. And I know a little bit about building a business. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot. But I was thinking women are the fastest growing segment. And women are also the people who make a lot of purchasing decisions in households. But only 4% of us are actually hitting $1 million in revenue. That just shook me, especially now after and during, sort of during and after the pandemic. There's so many people who have gone out to found businesses, either because their business has slowed down or their jobs laid them off. And so women particularly are out founding businesses, building and creating new businesses. But imagine that everyone who's founding a business, you're going to average usually from 24,000 to 142,000 a year. That's on average the amount of money that women are making from their businesses. I just thought, you know what? I know some dynamic women who've led businesses, who've built super impactful businesses. Why don't we get all together and make a change, make a difference in that? So the Woman Leader Summit is designed for women business owners who want to get the tools. And now I'm talking real practical tools, not fluff tools, not rah tools, but real practical tools to build and start to scale their businesses to $1 million in revenue on an annual basis. It's not that it's so complicated. It's just that there's different pieces that women-led businesses need to be focusing on. And so we're going to be focusing on July 17th on 4 key areas: sales, because that's how money comes, our money mindset, or just our general mindset, which I'm excited to share with you today. Hiring your first team members. In order to scale your business, building your team is absolutely critical. And then how to be the CEO of your business. Those are the 4 areas we're going to be talking about in this very focused 3-hour virtual summit on July 17th. There's going to be more information about how you can connect to that, but I want to just put that in your mind. 4 areas, practical tools that you can put together right now. So I'm excited of one of the 4 dynamic speakers. I'm super excited to welcome today Dr. Samantha Madhosingh. Dr. Samantha is an amazing high performance mindset expert. And I've had the benefit of actually being her friend and colleague in a number of different ventures. And today we're going to be talking about the power of our mindset in growing our business. And actually not just our business, right, Dr. Samantha? It's also growing our lives. So welcome. I'm so excited you're here. Dr. Samantha Madhosingh, thank you so much for being here today. And so as we kick off, just share one thing that you have found super important about our mindset. What's one thing that's been really important that you've noticed about mindset?
Well, one of the things that I say, and I'm very excited to be here too, Jenny, is that mindset is everything. And so it is the thing that can help you move forward. And it is most often the thing that holds people back. It's how we think about things, what we think is possible for us in our lives and in our business. A lot of that is how people get stuck.
So listen, I think maybe a lot of folks who see themselves as successful say, "Oh, mindset. Who needs that? Like, what is a mindset?" So, can you talk a little bit about what does it mean to have a performance focused mindset, or just elaborate a little bit on what is mindset? Like, how would you describe it to someone who's just hearing the term for the first time?
So mindset is how you think about everything, right? And so, one of the terms that's been sort of floating around a lot in the last couple of decades is growth mindset, right? Having a growth mindset means seeing that you're capable, that your mind is capable of changing. Because back in the day when you and I were kids, nobody knew about that, right? So
Right,
it's sort
right.
of the mindset was, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Your brain was fully developed by 18. It didn't really change much after that, but none of that is true, right? And so, you know, creating new neural pathways, having new neurons fire together so that they get wired together, um, is the way to do it. If you want to change anything, you have to shift the way that you think. And that is what mindset is. And so, I think people really need to be curious about the way that they think. A lot of times people just kind of go through life by default and they're not really thinking about or curious about how they think and what they think about. I've had many clients say to me, well, the thoughts, they're just there, right? And so
Mhm.
it's like, well, yeah, they do sometimes seem to come automatically, but you do have the power to manage them and control them and shift them and change them. And that is why mindset is everything. If you're living by default and you don't even know what kind of mindset you have, or where your thoughts take you, or how they might be holding you back, or which way of being and which way of thinking is working for you, then you're missing out on so much of your power.
Okay, so Dr. Samantha said a couple of things, and I need to just alert everybody. So she doesn't come to this conversation having read it in a book a couple times. No, she is truly an expert. 20,000 hours of studying about human potential, human performance, and optimizing our brains. And so I share that because if you guys have ever heard, I believe it was Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, and it
Mhm.
talked about the area of mastery for the people, the high performance athletes, the most elite athletes, the most elite chess players. They practice at least 10,000 hours to achieve that level of performance. Well, Dr. Samantha has studied and researched over 20,000 hours, just to give you an idea of the mindset expert that you're listening to right now. So you
You
talked
know,
about
so
what?
can I just say, I think w- I just want to, on that point, it's for me, it comes from my curiosity about people, wanting to understand why people do the things that they do. Why do people behave the way that they do? And one thing that is also true is that I'm a trained psychologist. That's how I started my career, was doing psychology and therapy. And being in that arena helped me to truly understand how the brain functions, the neuroscience behind why we do things, why the brain functions the way that it does, and why mindset matters, right? And so that was why I dedicated so much time to truly trying to understand, wanting to understand myself, wanting to understand my clients, wanting to just understand even the world. Like, why do people do the things that they do? And that has just been, that's my journey. Is always looking at, why do they do that, right? And when you understand the brain, and this is what I tell people, when you understand how the brain works and why it does what it does, then you understand everything.
And I love this whole idea of curiosity. You shared it just few minutes ago, where you talked about being curious about what's going on in our heads, being
Mhm,
curious about the messages that have been planted in our brains,
mhm,
in our minds, as young children. I know one of the ones that comes around money, for example, is
mhm.
money doesn't grow on trees, or money
Money is
burns
the
a
root
hole
of
in my
evil.
pocket.
Yep.
Money's the root of all evil. So those are the kinds of things that have gotten into our
Mhm.
heads, into our
Yep.
minds, and if we're not challenging those, and I know in my own life, in personal and business, I had a relatively rough and tumble upbringing. And so what I realize at my age now, that
Mhm.
I have to really pay attention to these little, they're like subtle voices, but they're so
Mhm.
persistent
Mhm.
that, they can stop me
Yep.
from doing or taking a particular action,
Taking the
or
step. Yep.
and I can intellectualize it too because I'm
Mhm.
smart, right? And
Of course.
so can you talk a little bit about the ways that you find people, or that you've even helped people become curious about the thoughts? Let's just take the thoughts around money, because I think money is money is a place, especially when we're talking about business, and even for women business owners and women leaders, is that we can devalue or undervalue ourselves. I think that
Mhm.
has something to do with the conditioning and messaging that we've gotten that's operating.
Yep.
We can undercharge for our services. Again, I think that's,
Conditioning.
there's this idea of conditioning, right?
Mhm.
And so can you talk a little bit about ways that curiosity can start to disrupt some of that?
So you really want to be curious about your conditioning, right? So, where did all these thoughts come from? Where did all these beliefs come from? Why do I think that money grows on trees, or that rich, powerful people are corrupt and
Mhm,
evil, or that making money is hard, or it has to be hard, or that you have to work super hard in order to make money? And that's not actually true. And then, some of the things that our culture and media portray, and even in the rah rah space, is that people who are successful are the only ones who work hard, and that's not
mhm,
that's not true. Some of the
mhm,
hardest working people make the least amount of money in our
mhm,
society. And
mhm,
so, but that's the conditioning, right? The conditioning is, if you want to make lots of money, you have to work really hard, um, and you don't have time. I think at least my generation and our generation, when the way that I was raised as a female, and this is really important, I think, because we're talking about women business owners,
mhm,
is what is the conditioning? How were we raised, and not just by our families and our parents, but society. What were the messaging in the media, in the books that were read to us, in the books that we
mhm,
read? What did women do, right? How powerful were women seen, or were they, the superhero in the short skirt and the high heels, right? Is that how we can be powerful? Is that the only way that we can be powerful? Is that the only way that we can make money? Again, my childhood being raised, and it was, you get a job and you work until you have a family, and
mhm,
then everything takes a back seat. Like, that's part of the conditioning, and it takes so much work
yeah,
to undo a lot of that. But it does start with the curiosity of, now, what's stopping me? Why
mhm,
am I stopping myself? How am I stopping myself? What are the thoughts and the conditions, right? I have some of my clients, like, make a list of your conditioning. What are some of the things that are repeated, things that you repeat now in your life, but that you heard, whether it's from parents or teachers? What did teachers teach you? How did they teach you to see of yourself what you were capable of? There's a lot of a big movement right now about women in STEM. Why? Because we've taught generations of girls that they're
mhm,
not as smart as boys in mathematics and
right.
sciences and engineering, and so we're trying to undo all of that now. But
So let's
generations of conditioning have contributed to that.
So let's take a step. So I love, because you gave some great nuggets, I think, that are really critical for people listening to write down, because this is what we're talking about when we talk about practical, and we're just talking now. So obviously during the Woman Leader Summit, we'll have, specific exercises for you to do either in the moment or directly after the summit.
Mhm.
So Dr. Samantha, you said one of the, so this is a takeaway, grab your pen and paper, is in order to start to understand the conditioning, it's you got to make a list. So and I think you said something to the effect of, what do I need to stop doing, is something to that effect. Or what do I believe about money, and then write down everything that
Mhm.
comes to mind. Like, I think, again,
What
It's so
so
powerful. Mhm.
it is. And so it's like, be curious about the messaging. And
Mhm.
so, in the books that were read to you, in the books that you
Mhm.
read, how was money presented? Your Uncle Charlie, what did he used to
Mhm.
say about money? What
Mhm.
did teachers teach you about what was possible for you as a career, as a business owner? What did they
Mhm.
teach you about for your gender, or just for you as an individual? I've had clients and friends who tell me, like, they've been in schools where, they're dyslexic, or they have some form of a learning disability, and they're super smart, and yet they felt really stupid. And
Mhm.
so if you have those things kind of percolating around here, they're going to interfere with what you allow yourself to do, because they're stopping you, because your brain believes that you have an upper limit,
Mhm.
right? An upper limit of all this conditioning. That's the tip. That's the top,
So this
right?
kind of sounds though like if I have an upper limit, I can't do anything about it. This is just how it is. I'm just going to have to deal with this. Is that accurate, or is there a way to is there a way to remap or reprogram? I don't, those are my
Absolutely.
words, but are
Yes.
there ways to make that different, to change it?
So it's about rewiring your brain, right? So it's about creating new neural pathways. I often liken it. So there's a lot of trains that go from DC to New York, for example. And
Mhm.
so, but if I decide that I want to go to Chicago, I can't get on the train that's going to New York. I need to get on a train that's going to Chicago.
Mhm.
And creating new neural pathways is like that. It's laying a different foundation, a different track, a different pathway to take you in a different direction. It comes from changing your habits, changing the way that you speak to yourself, looking at the words that you say to yourself, the beliefs that you have, identifying the ones that are not helpful, and then creating new ones that fuel you in an optimal way. So they help you move forward, rather than being something that just is on repeat and is holding you back. So it's like what I was saying earlier, how neurons that fire together wire together. So you want to create new
Mhm.
neuro pathways that are, and it comes from new habits, new wording, and just keep repeating those things. It's like, if you wanted to learn to play the violin, or you want to play tennis, right, and you've never done it before, you're kind of gonna suck at first,
Mhm.
usually.
Mhm.
But you need to create a habit. You need to exercise that muscle. And so the brain is similar. You have to create new neural pathways, and practice and practice and practice until it feels comfortable. And so then it becomes a new habit. And so instead of, I'm going to suck at this, then there's something new there to, and even if that comes in, because the down treaded pathways don't go away very happily.
Right.
They're
Right.
there, and so those thoughts still come up. But if you're conscious enough of them, then you can replace it with the new thought, because you now have, like, I have my clients do this. Okay, so when that thought comes up again, what are you going to replace it with? And keep it simple, because if
Mhm.
it's some long complicated thing,
You can't,
it's not
yeah, it
going to
won't
work.
work.
You're
It's
never
not
going to
gonna work.
remember it, right? So, keep one very simple thing that's going to help you when that thought comes back up, that you can replace it with this new one.
So you talk about your clients, and I know that we're talking about it, you're an executive coach
Mhm.
to CEOs and business owners and entrepreneurs, and so tell us a little bit about, like, because I really want people to understand that, I mean, I've done this work because I've had to remap a lot that was,
Mhm.
sewn into my mind early
Mhm.
early on. I was in the military, so goodness gracious that I have to undo some things and redo some
Yep.
things around leadership and around team building and
Mhm.
multiple other things. But talk about maybe an example of working with a CEO, because again, part of what we're talking about with the Woman Leader Summit, not just talking about, but the work that we want to do with the Woman Leader Summit to really help women move from, a six-figure or a high five-figure, business, and
Mhm.
really start stop grinding, which we talk. The
Yep.
theme is from grinding to growing, the
Yep.
tools to build $1 million business. So this idea you said earlier about, we believe that we have to work ourselves into the ground in order to
Yep.
make money, and that's really not true.
It's not.
it's not true, and it's hard to like let go of that, because for some of us we've been ingrained that you have to work really hard to make like a penny,
Mhm.
you know. So if you could talk about maybe a client, an executive that you coach that has been through this work around mindset, has been able to actually impact their company, and
Mhm.
then as a result of that impact their profits. So share a little bit about, if you can, about a place where that's been a practical kind of application.
So, it's interesting when I was listening to what you were saying before. It's, one of the things that often comes up for women, especially when they're looking to scale a business, is worthiness.
Mhm,
Am I worthy?
mhm,
And again, I think a lot of that is conditioning, right?
mhm,
Some of it is around money. A lot of it is around past history. And, I've had clients who will allow themselves to get to $500,000, and then they stop themselves. And then, they are what I call self-sabotaging, because that's a really cool way of really sticking, getting
mhm,
yourself super stuck.
mhm,
And they're like, but nothing is working. So
mhm,
what am I doing? And
mhm.
the work that we do is what you and I are talking about, which is uncovering what the money mindset issues are, where what are the beliefs that that are fueling this stuckness. What I've also found interesting too, though, is that for most people, every up level, so
Mhm,
like going from 5 figures to 6 figures, going from
mhm.
low 6 figures to high 6 figures, going to crossing to that $1 million spot, becoming more public, becoming all of those, they need more tweaks, right? So
Right,
so when I work with
right,
people and I get them to the
right,
next level, then they're like, yeah, I'm good, I'm good. They come back.
right. Yeah, it's not a
Because
one and done.
it's
It's
not
not
a
a
one
one
and
and
done.
done.
It's like,
It's not.
yeah, we've tweaked the mindset, and then it's like, yeah, no, I know this because we've talked about this
Right,
before, and it's like, yeah, we just kind of need to water those seeds a little bit
right,
more and help you understand. You broke through one glass ceiling, but then you set another one for yourself.
right.
And so, how do we help you break through that glass ceiling and move on to the next? And it is about just continuing to redo that work, and seeing how your habits help you be able to do that.
And I think it's very, we're talking around a lot around the individual, right? So, and yes, our minds are on our shoulders, and so there is the individual work. I would
Mhm.
say also what I would imagine can also impact some women business owners is the things around them. So
Oh, absolutely.
family members, whether one you're in a relationship with or married to, can impact your mindset around money.
Mhm.
Especially because business building a business is all about risk taking.
Yep.
So there can be people who say that's not going to work,
Yes.
and that's, I mean, I think that you can be told that enough times, and then
Conditioning.
because business is like you're doing things and you're thinking it's going to work, and
Absolutely.
then it doesn't work, and then someone says, see, I told you it wasn't going to work, and so that becomes mapped in.
Mhm.
um, so I think the other part of this, and I'd love for you to talk about this, is how our mindset is also being shaped every day. So you're talking about, if you hit your $500,000 mark, or your 250, or your 100,000, whatever the mark is you hit, and
Yep.
then the people around you can start to actually impact and go, oh my gosh, I don't think yeah, you're never going to be able to get to $500,000.
Mhm.
And then you can buy that in, depending, can absorb that. Talk a
Yep.
little bit about how our mindset gets impacted by the conditions and circumstances around us, especially as we're growing and moving and working on these habits. But what do we need to be paying attention to?
So one of the things I often say is that conditioning never ends, right? So from the moment you're
Mm,
born, and arguably even before that, you're being conditioned by your environment, and it keeps going. We're being conditioned every day. I mean, social media, books, movies, everything. What's quote normal behavior for gender roles, for race and ethnicity, for abilities. What how should you behave? How should you think? And so our conditioning never ends. It I guess the day we die, that's it, right? But it never ends. And you know this is why we have to keep on working at it, right? And so, one of the things, and I think this happens again a lot for women, is there is more fear of success than there is of failure. And so I think especially for women, it's, and women hear this again as they've up leveled to whatever the next level is. Well, if you increase to, your whole life is going to change, right? And so your responsibility, well, you've got these responsibilities at home. How are you going to be able to do this? Or how are you going to be able to do that? Like, I'm a single mom. And so this was something that in the very beginning, I had to figure out for myself, because my mindset at the time was that the bigger my business became, the more impact negatively it would have on my relationship with my daughter. And so there was only a certain level that I was going to allow myself to achieve especially while she was young. And so that was something that I had to keep dealing with in order to continue speaking, for example, and going to different states and different places and speaking on different stages, and being and teaching myself that it was going to be okay. But this is how it works. It never ends, because the conditioning is always happening. The messaging is always happening, and you have to fight through what you take in and what you allow to implant and grow legs, as I call it, right? Because those seeds grow roots. And then, we do a lot of yanking, and sometimes we just do pruning. And so some things work for us and other things do not work at all. And so, but you have to come at it from a place of curiosity. If you really try, like, I call it manhandling things, like being rough and trying to force yourself to think a different way, it doesn't work.
Be more disciplined. Just be more disciplined. You'll be okay.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It takes gentle finessing and giving yourself grace and forgiveness, that type of stuff, and changing your habits.
I love this. So in our last minute together, Dr. Samantha, what's one thing that a woman business owner who's listening right now, what's one thing that she could do to start this journey of being, what's one question or one action that she should take to start this journey of being curious? And that's as she's on her way to the Woman Leader Summit on July 17th. But what's one thing that she can do?
So the thing to cultivate is that self-awareness, and it does come from being curious. It's asking yourself the next question and being open to see, what's coming. I know that might sound like kind of like vague and hooey, but this is what I've been telling my clients recently: is just be curious. Why did I think that? And this is another piece. Oftentimes we feel guided by our emotions, and we are guided by our emotions, but our emotions are triggered by thoughts. And a lot of people forget that. They think the feeling comes first, but it doesn't. The thought comes first. The thought and the beliefs are all there. They're already there. So if you are curious and about, like, so for example, if you have a feeling, if you're feeling sad or frustrated, then say to yourself, okay, so what am I thinking that is causing me to feel this way? What are the thoughts? What are the beliefs? Where do they come from? Right? Is this something that I've heard? Is it something that I've been watching in the news? Is it something I'm reading in the paper? Like, why do I think this about myself? Why do I feel unworthy? Where does that come from? Unworthy of a 7-figure business. Is it because I'm scared to fail? Or is it because I'm terrified by what success might really mean? Some people, for example, are afraid of having a business or an income that surpasses their parents, for example. And so,
or spouse.
or spouse, exactly. Yeah. And so it's all of that stuff that gets muddled together. But if you come from a place of gentle curiosity and just ask those questions: who, what, where, when, why, how. Um, I want, just again, just from like, I wonder where that comes from. I wonder why that thought, just keeps coming to me. I wonder why this type of thing just keeps me, feeling stuck. And don't be wedded to these things that you think about yourself. Like, I could never be a speaker, for example. I'm terrified of speaking in public. And that's not true for the, most people. They're not actually terrified of speaking in public. They're afraid of rejection. And when you identify exactly what it is that you're dealing with, then you have the power to manage it rather than it having power over you.
So I think this is really powerful. And and as I'm listening to you, it reminds me of the power also of sitting down with one of those questions and just starting to jot it out and get it
Yeah.
out of yourself. So if you're a journaler, even if you're not a journaler,
Take
yeah,
out a notebook,
just
paper.
take just piece of paper and dedicate 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour, half hour, 5 minutes. Why did I think that?
Hmm.
Or why do I believe I can't have a
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 figure business? And then just sit there and write everything that comes out. Like just literally just do a brain dump, everything that
Yeah.
comes out and look at
So,
it.
so can I? It's
Yeah.
also, it's not about blaming or shaming anybody.
Mhm,
It's just
mhm.
about understanding and identifying, and then taking the power away from it and being
Absolutely.
able to make the shift. Because if you don't know something, if you're not deliberate, and that's the other piece. If you're not deliberate and intentional about it, then it controls you. So if you're
Absolutely.
deliberate and intentional about the thoughts and where they come from, then you have the power to do something with it.
Absolutely. And I think that's the what I would say as we wrap up here is the Woman Leader Summit, and this conversation with Dr. Samantha is part of what we'll be doing during the Women Leader Summit, except we're going to be drilling down into it even more, giving you practical tools and practical exercises. Because this whole idea of your money mindset, or just your business mindset, it
Mhm.
impacts, in case y'all didn't know, it impacts you, it
Mhm.
impacts the growth of your business, it impacts the people you hire, it impacts how you build your team, it
Yep.
impacts the way you interact with your customers.
Yep.
It
The
impact
culture.
like it just goes on and on and on. And so I just want to offer the power of that. I've done this work, and you said something a little while, Dr. Samantha, which made me kind of stop and go, "Oh, we might need to talk again." And that is the fear of success, right?
Mhm.
Like I haven't thought that I'm afraid of success, but you said something. And sometimes, y'all, just so you know, is to hear something I've read, oh, people have the fear of success. I'm like, yeah, la la la, la la la. When Dr. Samantha said that a few minutes ago, I was like, oh, because at this moment, I heard it in a way that
Yeah.
connected with some things that I've been thinking about. Um, and something that went on 8 years ago, 9 years ago,
Mhm.
that I'm like, oh, snap. I might need to do some work on that.
Mhm.
And so the Woman Leader Summit is completely designed to help women business owners who are looking to build to $1 million and beyond. And it can be any woman that has a service-based business. That's what we're really focused on, not so much product-based businesses, but service-based businesses, and really help you get those tools. Now, both Dr. Samantha and I are all about practical. As you can see, we're not, there's not a lot of pom poms and rah rah. So it's not about jazzing you up to feel excited and motivated and all that kind of stuff. Like we believe the people who are coming to the Woman Leader Summit, you're already motivated to make changes and move your business forward. So we want to meet you there. We want to meet you with real tools that help you take action right now. Not 5,000 real tools, however. We want to have, like Dr. Samantha may give you one or two key tools to help you start implementing in your business.
Mhm.
I'll be giving you one or two tools. Melissa Johnson, who's going to be coming talking to you about hiring your first team member and delegating, she's going to give you practical tools. And Natalie Kloon, who's going to be talking about sales systems, she's going to be giving you real practical tools. And so if this is interesting to you, exciting to you, please check out the womanleadersummit.com, or you can go to Leaders Transform /WLS. Oh, I even have a thing here. Huh? Isn't this amazing?
Woo!
So you can go to
Technology.
leaderstransform.com/lowercase WLS 2021, and get your ticket. So we're not going to have a huge tons and thousands of people. We're not doing that. We're going to do an intimate setting so we can really focus on helping you move your business forward. It's critical because of the environment we're in. I know how important it is to have a group of people who you can learn from, you can work with, you can feel that you're trusted and you're known, and you're celebrated, and that's what we're all about. So if this is interesting to you, you find something that you know that you can utilize, click on that link, and grab your ticket. We have early bird pricing right now, so it's just $97 to be able to get your seat. It'll go up in 2 weeks, so I want to make sure that you get in. We'll also be having other interviews. Dr. Samantha is going to be coming back. We'll talk some more about this and other things related to your mindset. But please make sure that you're connected to this, even if it's just that you want to get the tools that we're talking about. You want to listen to the interviews. That's groovy too. Any last comments, last thoughts, Dr. Samantha, before we
No, I'm
roll out?
excited. I'm looking forward to the summit. I'm, looking forward to getting some ideas about sales, because again, that is a mindset. It is so
Yeah.
rooted in mindset that, and money mindset is often the root of or the issue for people around sales, and also personal. How they see themselves, and whether or not they can have a sales conversation with somebody else. So I'm excited to hear about that too, and to share with folks some ideas and some practical tips to be able to make some shifts and changes that make a difference.
Awesome. Fantastic. So we'll see you all again soon. Thank you so much for listening. Share with a friend if you have a friend that could benefit from this conversation, who may want to know more information about the Woman Leader Summit. Please share it with a friend. Until next time, thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.